Open Camera versus Gcam. It's time to decide which is the best camera app. The answer's complicated. Let's look at some photo and video samples from my Poco F3, app features, and then my recommendations. Gcam wins this first outdoor shot easily. It's a bit brighter, and it has a lot more detail, where Open Camera just smooths everything out for some reason. A similar story with this figure, except now Open Camera is overexposing and still lacking detail. For this brick column, Open Camera is more saturated, but again, so much detail is just lost. Also, I think this has NFT written all over it. Beautiful. Open Camera comes in handy for my dirty car. It really blurs out the bugs and such from the paint job, and again it's controlling the highlights decently, but details are gone. I do actually prefer the colors Open Camera is giving us here, but it's a bit overexposed, and once again about as sharp as a 12-pound bowling ball. Here's a cow picture, and I like the warmth from Open Camera, but I don't like the fact that where Gcam shows trees back here, which is accurate, Open Camera just has some scary fog or smoke creeping in. Those aren't happy trees. Both cameras miss the focus on these polyps here, but Gcam gets pretty close. And like a magic trick, Open Camera has managed to clean the dust off the back of the steering wheel and produce more accurate colors than Gcam. So what about photos of people? Surely Open Camera can do better, right? Not really. This is the main camera, and the same problems persist. In portrait mode, makes things even worse. It even looks like Open Camera thought the house was the subject and I the foreground, which needed to be blurred out, and that's just hurtful. It's bad news when your own camera doesn't think you're important. But hold on, because the selfie camera actually looks pretty good. Wow, that man is handsome. It competes with Gcam, at least in terms of detail, even though the highlights are blown out. Here's portrait mode with the selfie camera. Open Camera basically just doesn't activate portrait mode this time, which is much less hurtful than swapping the subject in the background. But what about night mode? Maybe Open Camera can compete better here? Nope. This is the main camera, and both cameras look pretty poor in this very dark garage. But Open Camera is not usable at all. Too noisy and far too soft. Maybe the selfie camera can save things again? Nope. Even worse this time. The trend continues with other night mode shots. And even in a few situations where Open Camera was brighter, it was still way too mushy or noisy. Okay, so we know video will probably be terrible for Open Camera too. But no, it actually looks better than Gcam in daylight. And even at night, it's pretty close. Plus, you get a larger image from the selfie camera at 1940 by 2592 versus Gcam's 1080 by 1920, an aspect ratio typically known as 485 by 648 as opposed to Gcam's measly 9 by 16. If you're finding this video helpful, please give it a like, and thanks for that. Check out the slow motion. I forgot to lock the exposure in Open Camera here, which is why it adjusts like crazy when it initially lights, but I think Open Camera is better at both 1/4 and 1/8 speed. I do have an entire slow motion comparison video with Gcam, Open Camera, and the stock Poco camera right here if you're interested. That leads perfectly into why I would still consider using Open Camera. The range of options that the app gives you in terms of features is amazing, as long as you activate the Camera 2 API, so don't forget to do that. You can pick from a ton of settings in this drop-down menu, like focus type, 8 different photo modes, resolution, grids, white balance that you can adjust manually, and a lot of scene modes, which is where you find night mode, by the way. But that's not all. You can switch to face detection and add a quick toggle for it, add a ghost image, focus assist, angle lines, a histogram, zebras, focus peaking that allows you to change the color of the overlay, and an audio meter. You can change image quality, shoot in RAW, use exposure and focus bracketing, shoot video in log, use an external microphone, and change the video bitrate and frame rate. That's a lot, and I didn't even mention half the features. In fact, I didn't touch a lot of the photo features in this test, so I feel pretty confident saying that you can improve the photo quality if you tried out some different modes and features like exposure bracketing. Just keep in mind that the last setting you used before you close the app is what it will default to when you open it again, so make sure you don't accidentally shoot slow-mo video when you're just trying to take a quick picture. When we look at Gcam, it's much more point and shoot, less feature rich. The port I use for this testing is from developer Nikita, and I use this RDXML by Danish, and it has more features than other Gcams I've used, but it doesn't have half the options that Open Camera has. Link to the Gcam port and XML are in the description. You may be thinking, who cares about all of Open Camera's features if the photos look terrible? I agree, kind of, but you have to keep in mind that Open Camera is for every Android phone, and it's available right in the Play Store, unlike Gcam. With that in mind, just because Open Camera's photos are rough on the Poco F3, that doesn't mean that it'll be the same on other devices. I did go ahead and try out the Honor 50 in Open Camera, and things turn out a little bit better, but not drastically so. So here's my recommendation. Use Gcam for photos and Open Camera for videos, especially if you want to capture larger than the typical 9:16 selfie videos. But what about the stock Poco camera? The stock Poco camera on the F3, I would say loses to Gcam this time around, which is a first for me on the F3. I would actually suggest using the Gcam Open Camera combination instead of just the Poco camera with a few important notes. Gcam ports can be unstable. In fact, fact, active video stabilization crashed this Gcam port. Open camera can also be unstable. I was able to crash it by trying to record half-speed slow-mo video. Positives for the Poco Camera app are that it has access to all the camera hardware, full 48 megapixel shots, and the best video stabilization. Plus, I've never crashed it. This Nikita Gcam port was suggested in the comments of my Gcam night mode video. Thank you, Reza. Please subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and feel free to comment with any other ports you want me to test with, or any questions you might have, and I will answer them perfectly, generally.